this appropriation is coming in at a time when precedents have been created. We have basically created precedents in this country. A precedent, and number one, that a finance bill has been rejected nearly as the first time in the history of this country. Number two, we are doing this against a backdrop that members were very elated about the appropriation that we had done last, before we did the finance bill, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as I look through this supplementary appropriations, my view is that if we had time, where we are not able to get the 400 billion shillings, Madam Speaker, if we had time, I believe we are able to get this money. Number one is the amount of what is appearing as vote and programs that are placed in different departments, but are getting monies differently. If we went ahead, particularly to synchronize in terms of, like, for example, if you look at the Department of Immigration, there are things that are talking about population services. Population services are in immigration. Then we also have issues to do with population in planning. I want to believe that if these things were merged and were looked at as one, we would have saved quite a bit of money here. The same goes to where we are having Department of Irrigation, we are having Department of Water. I think these are areas where, if we looked at thoroughly, there are areas where we can make savings. But beyond that, Madam Speaker, since all this began, the head of state has indicated scrapping of more than 40 parastatals. These parastatals are already still here in the supplementaries with allocations through the departments that they fall. So, Madam Speaker, if we looked through this, if we had time, and I think this is exactly what the Budget and Appropriation Committee needs to look at, the issue of cleaning duplications and the issue of costing and marrying together the monies that were supposed to be going to the parastatals that are being scrapped, then if we put them together, Madam Speaker, I believe we are able to get the 400 billion that we are looking for by cutting some of these areas in terms of the budgets that were necessary. The other thing is the whole issue of pilferage. If we are able to get to close all avenues of pilferage, all avenues where we are getting issues of corruption, particularly today the President has pronounced himself to the issue of procurement. I think if we closed all these avenues, Madam Speaker, I believe and I strongly believe that we are able to get the 400 billion shillings that are making us get to this arrangement where there's no money for development, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much.
Member for Manyata, Honorable John Gitonga, are you on this one? If not, I'll give to member for Sirisia. If not there, I'll give the member for Tetu. Honorable Geoffrey Mwangi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute and support this supplementary budget. Madam Speaker, we are in a very, very interesting time as a country, because for the first time, matters economy, matters governance are taking center stage in this country, something that we have not had in a long, long time. And it is good that we are relooking at our expenditure. It is good that we are relooking at how we raise funds. It is good that we are looking at how we finance the governance of this country. Madam Speaker, I would like to start by calling out our Treasury. Because, Madam Speaker, partly some of the problems that we have found ourselves in may have been the lack of thoroughness that we have exhibited in how we have prepared the different financial documents, be they budget or be they appropriation. And Madam Speaker, it is important, without preempting debate on the individuals who have been selected to take charge of Treasury, to say that it is important that we get the best brains at Treasury. So that some of the challenges that we have gone on with the documents that have been rejected by the public and have put us in the spot as members of this House, at least we can be able to perform much, much better in future in terms of our budget and appropriations preparation. Madam Speaker, having said that, even as we try to exercise different austerity measures, even as we try to juggle with the minimal resources that we have and move them around to be able to satisfy the different needs in our country, it is important, Madam Speaker, that we continue and maybe even up the ante on the war on corruption and the war on wastage. Because, Madam Speaker, sometimes we talk about austerity. Then we realize the only austerity we achieved is by cutting in, important programs or reducing funding to important programs. But the money that gets lost through wastage, the money that gets lost through corruption remains the same. And as some of the people who have said here, we not only need to look at the national government, but we also need to look further down into the county government. Because if we do not win the war on corruption, we will continue about talking about austerity. We will continue talking about not raising enough resources for a long, long time, without achieving whatever, any meaning of progress. Madam Speaker, it is important that we also create a lean government, a government that is small enough to meet the needs of the people, but also big enough to execute the mandate that it has been given. I personally believe, Madam Speaker, that the government has no business being in business. And that is why when the president calls out and says that there are some parastatals who would like merged or would like wound up, that is something that I support. In this country, Madam Speaker, we have over 350 plus parastatals. Some of them have duplicated functions. Others can barely even survive without getting the annual budgetary support that they get from Treasury. Madam Speaker, we have to say what is important. What is the work of a government? It is to provide education. It is to provide things like health services. It is to provide things like security and the rest. When the government is in the business of, milling machines, the government is in the business of, milling cotton and things like that. Those are things that can be best done, and they've done even better by the private sector. And Madam Speaker, if you look at this country, you can tell me any service that is offered by the government, especially those parastatals, which does not have a problem. When it comes to power, we have issues of reliability, we have issues of adequacy, and we have very many other issues. Where the services offered by the private sector, in a lot of instances, move so much better and are even cheaper. So it is time that we started looking at what is the core mandate of the government and ensure that only those functions are supported. But even as we work on this budget, and to support my chairman of the ICT committee, we must look into the future. We have continued putting a lot of money in the traditional brick and mortar economy, and we have forgotten to be futuristic. If you go to the United Arab Emirates, they have a minister for AI. They are thinking about futuristic things of where the world is going. We still have, and rightly so, an obsession with roads, an obsession with water, and those are all good things. But as we fix the past, we must also continue talking about the future. How much money are we allocating in research? How much money are we allocating in AI? How are we helping to build a futuristic government even as we take care of the past? So, Madam Speaker, I rise to support the supplementary budget, but I request that the chairman of the budget committee and his people at Treasury continue to do a budget that is purposeful, that is helpful for this country going forward. I rise to support, Madam Speaker, with those comments. Thank you.
Chair at National Administration, Honorable Tongoyo.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for giving me an opportunity also to add my voice into this very important debate. Madam Speaker, from the very onset, I want really to appreciate and commend the Budget Committee led by their very able chair for burning the midnight oil to have this report ready. In fact, Madam Speaker, about last night, I was trying to call the chair, and he told me he went to bed around 4 a.m. And at the same breath, Madam Speaker, also want to commend all chairs, departmental chairs, who actually also participated in making this possible. Madam Speaker, it is good to appreciate that we are doing this supplementary budget during a very hard moment, because it was actually primarily cuts resulting or occasioned by the stepping down or suspension of the Finance Bill 2024, which has really caused a lot of cuts across the all sectors, which we have got no option. We had just to accept as it is. But having said this, Madam Speaker, I want really to appreciate that the Budget Committee had really tried really try to save and preserve the very critical and important program that are so beneficial to Kenyans. And just to mention a few, Madam Speaker, under the supplementary budget, there's still provision of money to absorb our GSS, which is a very positive step forward. We know majority of our youth are having a problem of unemployment, and observing the GSS will actually be a promise that the Kenya Kwanza government will be fulfilling. Madam Speaker, in the same budget, there is an increment for our police officers and the prisons, warders, and it's actually across all the security sector. It is actually, Madam Speaker, you remember, we all have to appreciate the Maraga Task Force report recommended a 40% increase of salaries to our police officers. And even the president has committed so, and in this budget, the same money has been provided, a tune of 3.5 billion has been provided to enable our police officers get their salary increment starting this month, as promised by the president. Madam Speaker, and I know we are still going to look at other sectors, like, of course, the welfare, the housing program, so that our police officers' welfare is going to be better. Madam Speaker, the issue like milk coolers is a very important sector, especially actually from the pastoralist community where we come from. Normally we say the cow belongs to the man, but milk belongs to the mothers. And the provision of milk coolers in the budget is a very critical component that is going to ensure that the livelihood of our farmers and our mothers is going to be uplifted. Madam Speaker, it's also an important that, of course, the issue of CDF has been enhanced to enable these members, to enable and enhance their bursaries, to ensure that all kids in Kenya get their bursaries. Madam Speaker, I want to speak on the issue of the lease vehicle. In the same budget, Madam Speaker, there is a provision of slightly less than 10 billion money that is going to enable us to able to re-impact into the program of the lease vehicle, to enable our security agents, our Ngawa officers, to enable to get the very important kits of tools of service so that they can able to give service to Kenyans more effectively and efficiently. And especially even to mention those who are undertaking security operation in the North Rift and in northern part of Kenya. Madam Speaker, in the same budget, we noted, of course, that there is the money for the public participation has been ring-fenced and protected so that the members who crisscross the entire country, taking the views of Kenyans, will be able to have this project provided to give the needed services. But having said this, Madam Speaker, and I hope the chair budget is listening to this, in the police sector, we had anticipated to have a lot of raft of reform and to enable our police officers to perform their duties and provide the tool of service. But in the development...
Chair budget, that Kamukunji has gone on too long. Honorable Tongo is addressing a matter to you so that you can be able to respond, especially the chairs of departmental committees.
Yeah, thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Chair budget, I was mentioning that having appreciated a lot of the development and good things that has been considered in the policing sector, where we are anticipated to do a lot of reform to enable our security agents perform their duty more effectively, the money for the modernization is lacking. It has got a zero budget. In fact, Madam Speaker and the chair budget, it's good to note this, even the money to do the crowd management, you know, the tear gas, the protective gears, is zero in this budget. I will kindly plead to the chair, when we go to the appropriation or even actually the supply, in this house, we look for some money to enable our police officers get the tear gas, the protective gears, to manage, of course, the crowd for crowd management. And kindly, Yes, and cybersecurity, so, as well said by my very able chair, ICT. And I don't want to preempt, but I know the chair budget is very concerned, equally concerned about this component, this program that was not really considered. Also, and I kindly, Chair ICT, I want also the chair to listen to this. Madam Speaker, we had a program, a very good program, Madam Speaker, on restocking program, especially among the pastoralist community, those affected by the cattle rustling, which initially we had about 1 billion or so, I think 2 or so, which has been removed. I will kindly call this House, and of course the chair budget and his committee, to look around where, when we get to that stage, whether we can get some small money to enable the pastoralist community restock there, because that is their source of livelihood, Madam Speaker. So, Chair, kindly, and I don't know, I don't want to preempt, but we have got the issue of equalization is not bad. If Chair, kindly, I want Chair to listen to this. The issue of restocking is very important to pastoralist communities. And I can see even my colleague, Peter Locha, is agreeing with this. The farmers, the pastoralists lost a lot of head of cattle during the drought. Even others did through this issue of cattle rustling. I will beseech and call upon the chair budget and this House to look around where they can get some 2 billion or so that we can be able to have money to take back to the restocking program. And having said this, we can, Madam Speaker, this House is a budget-making House. And I'm sure we can still be able to get some money to put some money into that program. Having said this, I want to support this, and I'm really very happy and still commend all of us, chairs, who participated to make this possible. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Very well, member for Wajir, Honorable Fatuma.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to make my contribution on this budget, the supplementary estimate for the financial year 2024-25. But before I do my contribution, Madam Speaker, and I want to get your attention, Madam Speaker. Can I get your attention, Madam Speaker? I want to get your attention, Madam Speaker. Yes, I want your attention, Madam Speaker. I said before I do my contribution, I want to express my disappointment, to be honest. I came here very early in the morning, and my card was in the computer. And not just me. Some of the new members in this parliament have been wanting to speak from yesterday. But I don't understand what happens in this clerk office that we are not given a chance to say something. And for once, I want to talk to the leadership of this House. Mr. Ichungwa, if you can hear me, I'll be more than glad if you hear me, Mr. Ichungwa, that us, the members, the first-timers, we also want to speak. Mr. Ichungwa, I was saying, I want to talk to the leadership of this House. The new members of this House, they come here very early. They are not given a chance to say something. And I really don't understand what is going on in the clerk's office and the speaker. I say that because I was number 2 when I came here early in the morning. Let me just finish. I was number 2, and to date, we are just seeing people raising their hand, giving, to talk. Let us just know. If you don't want us to speak, let us know. Gen Zs have really shown us the way.
Honorable Fatuma.
Yes.
Order. Because you have come to the clerk's table, you have come to me, and there was a directive by the substantial speaker that every time, please take your seat, every time an order is called, the screen is cleared. Because what we see every day is what you have seen me call for members by following each other, and they're not in the House. People put a card and disappear. People put a card on an issue, yet they don't want to speak to it. So we are implementing that every time a new order is called, and you can also not put a card in the morning to speak in the afternoon. You'll understand, and we have tried to explain to you. So I hope that is clear enough as guidance not only to you, but to the House.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Well noted, but I was, again, the first person to enter this house this afternoon because I really wanted to be heard. And I still say I'm disappointed by the
You're on the
leadership
floor,
of the
Honorable
House.
Fatuma. Please.
So having
be
said
heard.
that, Madam Speaker, I'll move to what I wanted, my contribution, Madam Speaker. First, I would like to thank the committee for agreeing with the Gen Zs for taking a budget cut. Indeed, I
Rais, mimi niko hapo. Hiyo watu wakijaribu kukaribia State House nimeweka mitego kila njia wanaweza pitia, hakuna pahali wanaweza pitia. Kwa hivyo nyinyi msikuwe na wasiwasi. Kwa hivyo mimi nataka niseme asante kwa ile maombi mlitupatie mimi. Hiyo mniwachie. Kazi ya kuchunga rais mimi niko hapo. Hiyo watu wakijaribu kukaribia State House nimeweka mitego kila njia wanaweza pitia, hakuna pahali wanaweza pitia. Kwa hivyo nyinyi msikuwe na wasiwasi. Kwa hivyo mimi nataka niseme asante kwa ile maombi mlitupatie mimi. Hiyo mniwachie. Kazi ya kuchunga rais mimi niko hapo. Hiyo watu wakijaribu kukaribia State House nimeweka mitego kila njia wanaweza pitia, hakuna pahali wanaweza pitia. Kwa hivyo nyinyi msikuwe na wasiwasi. Kwa hivyo mimi nataka niseme asante kwa ile maombi mlitupatie mimi. Hiyo mniwachie. Kazi ya kuchunga rais mimi niko hapo. Hiyo watu wakijaribu kukaribia State House nimeweka mitego kila njia wanaweza pitia, hakuna pahali wanaweza pitia. Kwa hivyo nyinyi msikuwe na wasiwasi. Kwa hivyo mimi nataka niseme asante kwa ile maombi mlitupatie mimi. Hiyo mniwachie. Kazi ya kuchunga rais mimi niko hapo. Hiyo watu wakijaribu kukaribia State House nimeweka mitego kila njia wanaweza pitia, hakuna pahali wanaweza pitia. Kwa hivyo nyinyi msikuwe na wasiwasi. Kwa hivyo mimi nataka niseme asante kwa ile maombi mlitupatia.
My sister Muturi is saying they were given 2 billion for the coffee. For those of us who come from the northern part of this country, whether we will ever see a day we'll get 2 billion for the restocking of our livestock, or even those who fish, or those who do mira, and many others. So it's something for our budget chair to see so that even us, our livelihood can be improved. Lastly, Madam Speaker, I want to discuss on the ministries that are still held at the national government, and they are given huge chunks of money. We need to be serious and devolve some of these functions. If you look at Health Committee is devolved, but still there's a lot of money that goes to the Health Department, Health Ministry in the national government, and many other ministries. Finally, Madam Speaker, I want to take this opportunity for the CS that have been appointed today. I wish them all the best. And I want to applaud my party leader for accepting to dialogue with the government. At the end of the day, the country is bigger than us, and we need to work together. But I want to urge them to remember women. Women are very important in this role. So far, we have not seen any lady appointed from our side. Hopefully, we'll still get. I hear there are some positions which are pending. And we'll see whether the likes of Millie and Rosa and Esther Passaris will get a chance to serve, even myself, to serve in these ministries. So having said that, thank you. And hopefully for the members, the new members here, we have been shown the way, the Gen Z's way. Let us fight for our rights. Let us fight for us to speak here. We will not allow members who have come here thrice or 4 times to be repeating, and we sit here waiting for us days and days to just say one word. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Fatuma. Just to correct you, no CS has been appointed, just nominated. It is this House to take them through the vetting and finally the appointment by the President. I'll give this chance to the majority leader.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity to contribute on this consideration of the first supplementary estimates for the year 24-25. Maybe, Honorable Speaker, just to exonerate myself, you know everything we say here is on record. And the Honorable Fatuma was referring to me when she was complaining about new members speaking. And maybe by now she should have known that it is the speakers that, or the persons sitting on the speaker's chair who decide who speaks, not the leader of minority, not the leader of majority. I also wait, like I have patiently waited to get this opportunity to contribute. But Honorable Speaker, let me say this first supplementary budget within the first month of the financial year is a very unique supplementary budget. Indeed, it is the second such budget, supplementary budget that I've seen since I joined this House over 10 years ago, the first being in 2018, which was also occasioned by changes of the Finance Act of 2018-2019. And those like Millie Odhiambo, who are here, will remember when we declined to approve the VAT on fuel. That occasioned certain changes to the appropriations bill, occasioning the first such supplementary, although that happened within the second to third month. This is the first time indeed in the history of Parliament that we are seeing a supplementary budget even before we begin implementing the budget. And it must not be lost on Kenyans that this was occasioned by the rejection of the Finance Act of 2024-2025. That rejection of the Finance Act occasioned a huge gap in our budget for this financial year, Honorable Speaker, and that is what has necessitated this supplementary budget this early in the financial year. The rejection of the finance bill occasioned a deficit of an additional 346 billion. And that tells you, Honorable Speaker, without this first supplementary budget, it would therefore mean that the government of Kenya goes out to borrow the entire 346 billion. Members will note that this supplementary budget is only reducing our budget by a total of about 146.3 billion. There is therefore another gap or a fiscal deficit of an additional 200 billion, part of which, Honorable Speaker, would be covered through additional revenue-raising measures and other austerity measures that will be carried on in the course of the financial year. Honorable Speaker, it's important to say this so that Kenyans get to understand that every finance act or every finance bill that consequently becomes a finance act comes to finance government operations and the budgets that we have budgeted for the people of Kenya. And I've heard many members lament this and that budget has been cut. Yes, this and that budget will be cut. And indeed, I heard the member of Githunguri complain that the coffee cherry revolving fund has lost 1 billion shillings, but failed to inform coffee farmers that they have an additional 3 billion shillings, but they would have gotten an additional 4 billion shillings this financial year. But also, Honorable Speaker, as rightly as she said, and she was asking, I don't know whether sarcastically, that whether dairy farmers or milk farmers are more important than coffee farmers. All farmers in the Republic of Kenya are important farmers. And that is why even dairy farmers in Githunguri, dairy farmers in Kikuyu, dairy farmers in Karachuonyo, dairy farmers in Bungoma, in Kandui constituency, and those in Kuresoi, south and north, will benefit from milk coolers, because it is a key promise that this administration promised dairy farmers that we will ensure that there is substantive value addition in the milk value chain, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, as much as within the last budget that we had just approved, there wasn't money for milk coolers and for dryers for maize farmers, we have now made sure that there are resources that are being allocated to ensure that we also secure the post-harvest losses from our maize farmers. We secure our dairy products by having coolers around our country in dairies in almost all our wards, Honorable Speaker. And I know we don't have adequate resources courtesy of the rejection of the finance bill, to be able to roll out everything that ought to have been rolled out, Honorable Speaker. You have had many of, and this morning, Honorable Speaker, I had an engagement with the young people who keep sending us messages. A young girl called Jane, who told me she's a student at MKU, complaining that they have no access to university funding, Honorable Speaker. But I want to assure Jane and many other university students that the Committee on Budget has made sure that under the differentiated unit cost and also resources that have gone to the Higher Education Loans Board, no child, no student in university, no child or student in our TVET institutions will lack to access higher education on account of either capitation through DUC or either getting loans and sponsorship or scholarships through the Higher Education Loans Board. And these are some of the balances, Honorable Speaker, that we have had to do. That means, Honorable Speaker, that there will be a give and take within the supplementary budget, and that's why you see there are many other areas that we have cut expenditure, part of which might have been critical expenditure, but which can wait. And budget is all about prioritizing, Honorable Speaker, and we must be able to prioritize so that we ensure that even those who crusaded for the rejection of the finance bill are not going to suffer, Honorable Speaker, because they have opportunities that they will never be able to access. A child who does not access university education today cannot wait for next year or the year after. But probably a road in Kikuyu constituency that was to be constructed this financial year can wait. And therefore want to take this opportunity to ask Kenyans and to plead with Kenyans to be patient, because under these difficult economic times, under these times where we give and take, you cannot and we cannot have our cake and eat it at the same time. If we have no finances from the finance bill, then a road here and there will give way. A dam here and there will give way. Another project to do a hospital somewhere will give way. But, Honorable Speaker, that will come with the necessary and requisite responsible stewardship of the National Treasury. And I want to believe, even with the nominees that have been named today, the Honorable John Buddy, God willing, if he ends up being in the National Treasury, he has the requisite knowledge, and he has sat in this House. He knows. He has been a member of the Budget and Appropriations Committee when I chaired that committee. Honorable Speaker, I am confident that we'll be able to roll out this budget, be able to chew gum and scale the stairs at the same time, be able to cut on expenditure, unnecessary expenditure, and also be able to roll out critical development and other social programs in education, Honorable Speaker, even capitation to our day and boarding secondary schools, and also our JSS teachers, the JSS capitation, Honorable Speaker. All these things must run concurrently, even as difficult as things are under the rejected finance bill, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, there are certain things, Honorable Speaker, that were in the Finance Act or the Finance Bill, it never became an act, that would have helped this country also realize very many other developmental objectives. And for instance, Honorable Speaker, was the waiver or the exemption on penalties, on tax amnesty, or rather the tax amnesty provision that was there in the Finance Bill. Honorable Speaker, I am hoping that with time, the Finance Committee will make consideration to see how we can rescue some of these very positive things that were demonized within the Finance Bill that would have done very well for this economy, Honorable Speaker. That waiver, or the tax amnesty waiver, Honorable Speaker, easily generates close to between 30 to 40 billion shillings, and at the same time allows business people in this country an opportunity to save from penalties that have been penalized by KRA on account especially of bills they have not paid, because government is also holding their money under the pending bills, Honorable Speaker. And I want to pray and hope that the Finance Committee and indeed the National Treasury are working on ways that they can rescue some of these good things, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, if you listen to people... is anchored on job creation, Honorable Speaker. We tried, Honorable Speaker, during the finance bill debate to speak to Kenyans and in some of the measures that were in the finance bill spoke to job creation. But unfortunately, under the circumstances, it was difficult to get that message across to Kenyans. When we spoke about the manufacture of diapers, manufacture of sanitary towels, Honorable Speaker, we were simply trying to safeguard local manufacturing to ensure that our industries are thriving to create jobs locally, to ensure that those industries are generating revenues in this economy, not exporting jobs to other countries in the Far East, not exporting our forex to countries in the Far East as we import. And I'm glad I heard this afternoon the President speak to it, that it is time we had a conversation as Kenyans as to whether we want to make our economy one large supermarket to merchandise products manufactured and creating jobs in other economies outside of our economy, or whether we want to make our country a manufacturing hub where we'll be able to manufacture sanitary towels, diapers, and all those other things, Honorable Speaker. I've had members contribute to the issue of farmers. And that's what I was asking about, whether milk farmers are more important. Those who are claiming milk farmers seems to be getting preferential treatment versus coffee farmers. That, Honorable Speaker, within the finance bill, we had provisions that sought to protect poultry farmers. Many of our peasant farmers are in poultry rearing. Others are growing potatoes, Honorable Speaker. Others are growing onions. We sought to protect the onion farmer. We sought to protect the potato farmer, the poultry farmer from cheap imports of eggs, of potatoes. What reason is there, Honorable Speaker, for us to be growing onions in Loitoktok or in Kieni, in Nyeri County, and allow the importation of cheaper onions from Tanzania at the expense of the farmer in Kieni? Why would a farmer in Mochongoi, in Baringo County, or in Kinangop in Nyandarua be growing potatoes, yet my famous KFC and other cheap joints in town are importing potatoes from as far as Mexico and Netherlands? We must protect our local farmers, Honorable Speaker. And these are some of the measures that I'm saying we will need time to now soberly look at all these things and know how else can we finance the deficit that we have. Honorable Speaker, in conclusion, the revenue estimates that are contained in the budget that we approved, and even in this supplementary budget, are usually very optimistic. If you look at where our country is today, we have been told we are losing not less than 6 billion shillings. Every day we are out in the streets stopping other people from going to work. The import of that, Honorable Speaker, is that we may not realize the revenue projections that we have projected in this supplementary budget. The consequence of that will be additional borrowing. That borrowing will have ramification on our cost of borrowing locally in the domestic market, because you have to borrow from the domestic market. It will have an implication on how much business people, or the rate at which business people can borrow, how much investments they can invest in, how many jobs they can be able to create for young Kenyans. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, I just want to speak to Kenyans and ask them, let us reason together. Let us act in a manner that we will not destroy our economy as we seek to fix that which we seek to fix in our country. It is possible, as I said, to chew gum and scale the stairs, Honorable Speaker, together. And I believe together, we as a country can be able to do that. We can be able to fix the economic mess that we are in. We can be able to fix our politics without fighting, without injuring each other. We can be able to grow this economy and get it to where it ought to be. And Honorable Speaker, let me conclude by saying this first supplementary budget, as I said, is unprecedented. But I want to believe in the next few months, inevitably, we will get into a second. And this year, I foresee even a third supplementary budget, and ask the National Treasury that as they begin implementing this budget, Honorable Speaker, and as the new government ministries and state departments take shape, they will need to further review these budgets further to be able to align them with the new governance system that will be there, and to ensure that there are further cuts so that if the projected revenues that we project are not realized, then we do not need to go out and borrow much more. Because even that space to borrow more money, we are almost hitting the ceiling that we set in this House, Honorable Speaker, and therefore it will not be feasible to continue borrowing. Honorable Speaker.
Time is up. Member for Chepalungu, Honorable Victor Koech.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. I equally want to appreciate the opportunity you've given me. So I also heard my voice on the ongoing debate on the report by the Budget and Appropriation Committee led by Honorable Ndini Nyoro. I want to laud them and to congratulate them for the good work they are doing. The President, while refusing to assent to the finance bill, clearly said in his speech that austerity measures are going to follow. Truly, from this report, the Budget and Appropriation Committee has given us a report, and in this report, the Office of the Presidency, together with the Office of the Deputy President, has faced a huge budget cut to a tune of 4.2 billion shillings. This is a clear indication that what the President says is what is being done and what is being undertaken by our committees. Madam Speaker, we were so sad that JSS, our teachers who have been serving us as a country through or under internship, were going to continue serving us under internship. But the Budget and Appropriation Committee saw it well and gave us a solution. And now our teachers are a happy lot, and it is a clear indication that in a few months' time, their confirmation is going to come through. And equally, Madam Speaker, coming from a constituency that greatly relies on dairy farming, I am happy as a member because money for milk coolers is still available through this budget. And it is a clear indication that mopping up of milk is going to happen. It is going to benefit my farmers from my constituency and from the dairy farmers within the country.
Yes, we know dina kioko na kioko kuiba ofisini bala na ubea mbesa na yuma tuko 18 wakenda tukenda carnival grounds nundu wa chao Cambo festival nundu wa kusobea mbai kabisa kusobea mbai aye ndio kusobea mbai tene na nenda itandonze kuma kitui kuma masaku kuma mbone
Further to note that whenever we have a budget, lost 14.5 billion, of which each constituency was going to get 50 billion. It is now upon the Budget and Appropriation Committee, led by Honorable Ndini Nyoro, together with us, members of this House, to look into the ways that we can bring back this particular amount of money in September, so as to ensure that we increase or we enhance electricity connectivity within our constituency. They say, Madam Speaker, if you want to remain in power, you have to give people power. And if we fail to give people power, we'll be answerable to the people that gave us these particular seats when it comes to 2027. It is important as a House that we sit down, look into the ways of how we can bring back this 14.5 billion that was going to help not only my constituency, but all the constituencies in the entire country. Madam Speaker, it is sadly also to note that we lost 10 billion that was going to enhance CDF. We all know the amount of work, the magnitude of the work that is being undertaken by CDF. We are losing 10 billion that was going to increase money to our constituencies by a margin of around 30 million by constituency. This means for constituencies that have been left behind for so long, like Chepaluko constituency, that is still facing a lot of dilapidation of infrastructure. Madam Speaker, this money would have greatly impacted on the infrastructure within the constituency that I represent and equally to the entire country. It is now upon us, upon this honorable house, upon the chair, upon the committee, the Budget and Appropriation Committee, to look into the ways of bringing back this particular money so as to improve on the infrastructure of education, to improve on bursaries. In the rural constituencies that we represent, Madam Speaker, most of the people that go to school rely heavily on bursaries, and we don't enhance it, it means that we are not coping with the increase in population. Madam Speaker, on the roads, just like any other department, just like any other saga, roads have actually faced a major cut. Entirely, as a budget, we are losing over 100 billion. Roads is a major critical infrastructure that is going to spur economic growth within our constituencies. The finance bill that was drawn out that didn't work was seeking to find and allocate money and appropriate money that was going to handle roads that have been orphaned for so long. In our constituency, cutting across 3 constituencies, that is Daraja Sita, Chebole, going to Chebunya and Emuru Adigiri, we have a road that was done that was low volume, that requires maintenance. This money is not available simply because we didn't find money. We didn't pass, we actually passed, but it wasn't ascended, the finance bill. It is now upon this house, upon the Budget and Appropriation Committee to sit back together with the chair for roads and find ways. We need to find ways of handling these particular roads. They are major connectors, but sadly, Madam Speaker, they have remained unpassable for so many years. We've been promising, but the promise is not coming. It is now upon this house that we sit down, analyze our budget well, find ways and possible solutions of allocating money to these particular orphan roads. Because if they remain unmaintained for this long, we will lose the purpose for which they were constructed for. And Madam Speaker, having said so, equally, the 3 things that we are elected to serve our people majorly is on water, electricity, and roads. On water, if we are continue to underfund the water sector, then it means, Madam Speaker, our people will not access clean drinking and even domestic water. If it so exists so, Madam Speaker, we as a country are not leading in the right direction. And even as we lament and talk about this budget, it is not appropriate that we sit back and say we're not going to make further adjustment and allocate more money into water sector. It is now upon us, upon the chair, that we should allocate money to water. We should deliberately allocate more money to energy, to roads, and to education. Sadly, Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Education, or the Department of Education, lost money for infrastructure. This money for infrastructure normally comes in to add up to what CDF does. In a constituency that I represent, that so many schools are still in a sorry situation, Madam Speaker, this money normally comes up to add up to what I do as a member of parliament. Kneeling, or actually saying that this money is no longer available, is destroying a constituency that was going to develop further. It is now upon the chair, and I implore upon you, Honorable Ndindi Nyoro, to find ways. The infrastructural money was critical to rural constituencies. We implore upon you, together with your committee, we will help you as a house to find ways of bringing back the infrastructural money. With so, a few remarks, Madam Speaker, I want to say I support the appropriation bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Member for Nairobi, Honorable Pasaris.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to speak to this historic supplementary budget. But before I go to the budget, I want to say that yesterday was a very sad day for my county. From the daytime when there was demonstrations, we saw the residential areas of Pipeline, and through the night, the residential areas of Zimmerman in Roysambu being tear-gassed, houses and apartments. It's a highly congested area, high populace. I spoke to the member for Roysambu this morning, Honorable Mwafrika, and he was equally disturbed by what was going on. I spoke to the acting IG, Douglas Kanja, and the Nairobi RPC, Bungei. And, Bungei said to me that, look, Esther, it becomes very difficult when you're having people trying to go to a protected area, and they're all roads leading to that protected area where there's also refineries which could cause more damage if somebody tried to tamper with them. So, it's a thin line. And it takes me back to what's going on in the Middle East, where we see the casualties of women and children because of a war that shouldn't really be there. And I really want to appeal to the Gen Zs. You have done a historic thing in this country. You are our children. I have 2 Gen Zs in my family, and almost every member of parliament here has Gen Zs in their households. And we listen to them and we hear them, and we understand where they're coming from. And they came out to the streets because the first thing they wanted was the finance bill to be withdrawn. And it was withdrawn. And then they wanted the president to go on X. And the president went on X. And then they wanted the cabinet to be dismissed, and the president dismissed the cabinet. And now there's a hue and cry about why do we bring back the same people. At one point I actually asked the Gen Zs, can you put your list together of possible people that you think could be able to come in and help with the leadership? There was no such list coming out. And at the end of the day, this is a constitutionally elected government. People went and voted. And they voted for the representatives that are in the House. Every 5 years, we have that opportunity to vote. You don't want to wait for 5 years, but you cannot disrupt the entire country. We've seen enough bloodshed. I hear Gen Z saying, we are not responsible for the bloodshed, it's the police. But we saw the infiltration of the Gen Z movement by criminal elements, by goons. And even in Roysambu yesterday, the people that actually came to Roysambu yesterday were actually people that were not from that county. The county was peaceful during the day, and they rained terror at night. So the thing is, as a country, we have to always look for peace. We have seen enough bloodshed, and right now, the government has formed a broad-based parliament, and I really believe that together we can actually be able to steer this country in the right direction. There were so many things in the manifesto of Azimio that could actually complement the government. And I know that Baba has the heart of all the Gen Zs, because for the existence of the ODM party has been 19.5 years, which is the Gen Zs. We have Gen Zs that are 12 years old up to 26 years old. The 12-year-olds are in school. We can't disrupt their education every day. We also have a lot of people who are unemployed. The unemployed and those who are employed are now also having challenges. We've had cancellations, we've had job cuts, and we need to actually put this country in the right direction. Everything that the Gen Zs have spoken about for stop the abductions, let's have arrests of the police that have done wrong. I have seen the president speak to all that today. We have had budget cuts. We removed the things that were unconstitutional from the budget. And I believe that, it's going to be hard for Kenya right now. But the employment opportunities for the doctors, for the JSS teachers, are going to be there. And we hope that the economy can be spurred up in terms of giving incentives to the private sector so that we can create more job opportunities, because our neighbors have actually benefited from the strife that we have in our country. continue guiding. And you know, today I was thinking, we used to have NEPA desks in every ministry. Can we have a Gen Z desk in every ministry, in every public office? We have retirements every year. Austerity measures might not open out jobs for us, but if we can at least employ some Gen Zs in every ministries and have them run in the Gen Z's desk, they can make sure that they're the eyes and the ears for the president, because structures of government sometimes are actually so bent on doing things wrong that we need the elements of the Gen Zs within there. In the counties can really help. If the counties were able to actually raise their revenue by reducing the amounts that they've been charging, they will be in a position then to be able to get more revenue, and as a result, actually lessen the burden on the people and be able to actually deliver more services. All round, we know that the Gen Zs are asking for more governance, they are asking for more accountability, they are asking for more action when it comes to corruption, they are asking for an end to opulence, they are asking for questions about how people became as rich as they are in such a short period. I mean, for me, I've been driving the same car I've been driving for the last 13 years. Sometimes I also question, how do people who come into parliament already have helicopters? We have questions that need to be answered, and I really pray that the president will deal with it decisively. We also see a hand of political meddling. An early politician, past and present, who's actually fueling the instability of this country, they need to be questioned and arrested. Any police that actually went beyond his mandate and did the wrong thing needs to be also arrested. There is a lot of healing to be done. The mothers who've lost their children are in pain. I have seen children saying how much they hate the government, how much they hate the parliamentarians, how much they hate everything. But you know what? We need to turn that hate into constructive ways of running this country. This country belongs to all of us. From independence, when the Mau Mau freedom fighters fought for this country, to today, there has been struggle after struggle. I myself in 2017, actually dealt with 97 bodies in this county. I actually was on the street, tear-gassed over and over again till I could do it no more. It took me years of post-traumatic stress disorder to be able to deal with the smell of tear gas. I also want to say that we're going to be asking questions that the Gen Zs wants answers. What is that pink substance that is being taken through the water bowsers? Is that used in other countries? Is it ISO certified? Is it safe? Are we creating a health hazard coming in the future? There are questions that need to be answered, and we as your members of parliament will ask them. When it comes to the budget, I think there are some things that we have to do. As we tighten our budget, as we deal with corruption, we need to also ask ourselves, can we increase capitation? Can we make sure we pay for capitation? Can we make sure secondary education is free? Can we scrap all these bursaries in all these various entities, from the NGCDF to GAF to MCS to governors? Can we scrap it all and make sure that we have 100% transition? Can we make sure that the schools that have more students, we actually allocate money to classrooms? I think it is sad to see young teenage children who finish primary still at home because they can't pay. There are going to be some decisions that we're going to make as we move along. And I believe that we all have the best interest of the country at heart. I think we need to end the insults. We need to end the hate. We need to come together. And I believe that there is a space for the Gen Z in every public entity. Every year we have retirements. Let's fill those spaces with the Gen Zs. Let's have a special Gen Z desk in every public entity so that they can actually look at governance. They can look at structures. They should be allowed. Exchange information is about time.
magaze ni bure kabisa. CDs yako makaile magaze ni bure kabisa. Najerula unji maze ni manga besasi ya nasa. Najerula unji maze ni manga besasi ya ra. Kalinda mato kekwati ya mweyai. Kalinda mato kekwati ya mweyai. Uko masimani kale aleu. Uko masimani kale aleu. Kakumani mbebo kamosa muno. Kakunwani mbebo kamosa muno. Katwiki wanikuwa netele ngai. Katwiki wanikuwa netele ngai. Nibatonyeka, nibatonyeka. Niweka nibatonyeka. Kiwanikuwa netele ngai. Nibatonyeka, nibatonyeka. Niweka, niweka. Niweka, niweka. Niweka, yenyaona taku. Usio wakuvitito, usio wasindu siombe. Usio wakuvitito, usio wasindu siombe. Wikikuwa kuna wendo wiulu wanzia wasiombe. Wikikuwa kuna wendo wiulu wanzia wasiombe. Da Yosefu wingiwe imani mwa mwendwa. Da Yosefu wingiwe imani mwa mwendwa. Malete mezianuka tetheka medhayo. Malete mezianuka tetheka medhayo. Ula usuvye Israeli ndakomona ndombo Asia. Ula usuvye Israeli ndakomona ndombo Asia. Iyawe kwadio waku. Iyawe kwadio waku nini wangai. Iyawe kwadio waku. Iyawe kwadio waku nini wangai. Ula wikwata sia mundu ni mumanie. Ula wikwata sia mundu ni mumanie. Amisiriani andu na motingai. Amisiriani andu na motingai. Malasisio ni nyamana sio diveva. Malasisio ni nyamana sio diveva. Ona mokila makili mandu endu kateve. Ona mokila makili mandu endu kateve. Niweka, niweka. Niweka, niweka. Niweka, yenyaona taku. Usio wakuvitito, usio wasindu siombe. Usio wakuvitito, usio wasindu siombe. Wikikuwa kuna wendo wiulu wanzia wasiombe. Wikikuwa kuna wendo wiulu wanzia wasiombe. Tukimusia isya Yesu ondu omeisye. Tukimusia isya Yesu ondu omeisye. Aibuzwa na mweso negala enangai. Aibuzwa na mweso negala enangai. Ewa ya yovu mbone vyeva tonyeka winangai. Ewa ya yovu mbone vyeva tonyeka winangai. Awa auwe wikamu kamu ya umangai. Awa auwe wikamu kamu ya umangai. Davidi githekania igya ni igwe ni musumbe. Davidi githekania igya ni igwe ni musumbe. Owa Goliathi muthinya wa mbaio. Owa Goliathi muthinya wa mbaio. Niweka, niweka. Niweka, niweka. Niweka, yenyaona taku. Usio wakuvitito, usio wasindu siombe. Usio wakuvitito, usio wasindu siombe. Wikikuwa kuna wendo.
Employment of the youths.
Una motingai, uthini wangai. Iyawe kwadio waku. Iyawe kwadio waku uthini wangai. Ula wikwata sia mundu ni mumanie. Ula wikwata sia mundu ni mumanie. Amisiriani andu na motingai. Amisiriani andu na motingai. Malasisio ni nyamana sio diveva. Malasisio
this decentralization. Can also
inawezekana ukiwa na Mungu wewe. Inawezekana ukimwita Baba. Yawe wacho wakupangai ukaiye kwa mondo. Weka tumaini lako kwa Baba, maana ndiye suluhu. Tumaini lako weka kwa Baba, maana ndiye suluhu. Ndiye nibatonyeka, tonyeka we nangai. Oh, nibatonyeka aiwe nangai. Maana mimi na moyo wako mbele za Mungu, maana maana mimi na moyo wako mbele za Mungu, maana nibatonyeka wewe nangai.
Chair.
Take your seat, member for Kwanza.
Chair, I just want to send my sincere condolences, or my sincerely want
DJ Biko Quiet in the mix.
With my colleague who happens to know for the loss you almost suffered for refusing to listen to electorates. I think you have learned
What
your
is out
lesson,
of order, member
and
for
you
Funyula?
live to work properly.
What is out
Thank
of
you,
order?
Honorable Speaker.
Member for
I
Funyula,
think-
you're
I
totally
think-
out of order.
I think it's out of order.
It is
You
a
should apologize.
democratic right for any member
I
to
was-
vote anyway. Member
Yeah, I
for
was-
Kwanza,
Yeah.
conclude.
I just want to say I think I support this this supplementary bill, and I just hope and pray that be able to be implement. I talked when you are away, but I think I'll be able to discuss with you some of my suggestions. I support this this supplementary bill. Thank you.
Honorable members, I know I've gotten a lot of interest on this motion and some questions because in the morning the debate had been limited to 5 minutes, but because we did not limit it on this sitting to 5 minutes, you cannot do that mid-debate. But honorable members, 10 minutes is a maximum. If you all speak and limit it, many of you will speak. And just to also note, today we are sitting all the way to 9 p.m. There is enough time for members to contribute. This chance will go to the member for Nandi, Honorable Cynthia Muge.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to contribute to this motion. And from the onset, Honorable Speaker, I want to say that I support this supplementary budget estimate, supplementary budget 1 of 2024-2025. Honorable Speaker, of course, when the budget came to our supplementary budget came to our attention, I was a bit disturbed, Honorable Chair, and I am a member of a Committee on Health. And Honorable Speaker, looking at the cuts that the health facilities were taking right from Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital, Honorable Speaker, that was supposed to benefit from 100 million for a construction of a children's hospital to supplement the Shoe for Africa, Honorable Speaker. You know MTRH serves a very good number of counties, Honorable Speaker. Of course, my heart sank. Same to the ICU facility that was supposed to go there. Honorable Speaker, I was disturbed by the fact that KEMRI, which is the strongest and the greatest facility in matters advancing on the issues of medicine, Honorable Speaker, received a total cut of 400 million that was supposed to be meant for research and such kind of things, Honorable Speaker. Of course, Honorable Speaker, this makes my heart sink to see that Madari Hospital, that is handling the mental ill health issues, Honorable Speaker, in this country, received a cut, 100% cut, Honorable Speaker. And this is one of the facilities that we run to when we have issues of mental health, Honorable Speaker, or rather mental ill health, Honorable Speaker. Of course, it pained me, Honorable Speaker, to also see the national spinal injury, which is only one facility in the whole country, Honorable Speaker, that serves anyone who suffers from a spinal injury, Honorable Speaker. That facility is in dire need of funds for it to be upgraded and for it to be expanded so it can be able to accommodate and treat more people, Honorable Speaker. But this particular facility, Honorable Speaker, received 100% cut, Honorable Speaker, which is actually taking us back in matters development of health, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, when you look at Kenyatta University Referral Hospital that was supposed to benefit from the cancer center, that's supposed to help us reduce the number of people that are actually going overseas for treatment, Honorable Speaker, receiving a cut, a humongous cut, Honorable Speaker, it actually broke my heart. But Honorable Speaker, looking at the gains or the winners of this particular supplementary budget, it speaks and it looks, it portrays a very good picture, Honorable Speaker, of this government that is paying attention to issues that are very primary and that are really important to this country. Honorable Speaker, when you look at education, it has been able to get a lot of money in terms of the recruitment of the 20,000 JSS teachers, Honorable Speaker, as opposed to the narrative that we were all setting into, Honorable Speaker, that since we did not have the finance bill go forward, therefore we cannot be able to generate money to run this government, then this will be the first casualties. Honorable Speaker, I am happy that we have a responsible government, a government that sits down and weighs what is more important and what is urgent, Honorable Speaker, and that is why we have the 46,000 JSS teachers confirmed and the 20,000 that are going to be hired as interns, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the young men and women of this country will not be going without money under the help. They will be able to access their money properly, Honorable Speaker. We also have the issue of the school feeding program. Honorable Speaker, I have my own reservations in regards to how the feeding program, Honorable Speaker, is actually implemented and the beneficiaries. But that notwithstanding, Honorable Speaker, I would be very selfish to actually say no to it when someone is going to benefit. So, Honorable Speaker, while we work on the structures to ensure that implementation is not only fair but also targeted, Honorable Speaker, I support and I am really happy that it was part of the persons gaining. Honorable Speaker, in health, we are going to have the universal health care. It has been a great beneficiary. We are going to have them get 8 billion. Honorable Speaker, the primary health care, the emergency and chronic diseases is also getting an allocation, Honorable Speaker. Importantly, Honorable Speaker, if you look at livestock and cooperatives, where the milk farmers, the dairy farmers are falling into, Honorable Speaker, as much as the budget cannot be able to accord the 2 billion that we really wanted for us to be able to bring up the prices of milk for our farmers, I am happy that at least we have 1.5 billion, Honorable Speaker, so that we can be able to take care of our milk farmers and be able to save them from the treatment that they are getting currently, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I cannot overemphasize, Honorable Speaker, the cherry fund that is being given to coffee farmers. Nandi County, Honorable Speaker, as you have noted, is the greatest and the newest entrant to coffee farming, and we hope to be able to benefit, Honorable Speaker, from this, including the sugar reforms, Honorable Speaker. I am one happy representative to see that this budget or this supplementary budget has maintained or retained the 1 billion that is supposed to be, that is meant for sugar reforms, Honorable Speaker, and of course not to mention the fertilizer subsidy. I am one happy person, I am one happy farmer, and one happy representative, Honorable Speaker, because our people will continue to produce their farm produce, Honorable Speaker, and feed this country. Honorable Speaker, I am especially happy because of the National Government Affirmative Action Fund. Honorable Speaker, like it has been put across by several members in this House, is that the CDF and the NGAF are very important funds that touch the people on the ground. I am happy, Honorable Speaker, that this government has seen the importance of those two funds, and therefore, if a budget cut has been inflicted on any of them, it is minimal, Honorable Speaker. But for NGAF, we want to appreciate that actually we are receiving the money that's supposed to help us do affirmative action in our counties. Honorable Speaker, looking at these two sides, Honorable Speaker, allow me to say that this is a sincere budget rationalization. A sincere one, Honorable Speaker, considering what was taken away and what actually gained from those that had something taken away from them. Honorable Speaker, that notwithstanding, I must mention, Honorable Speaker, that we have issues that we must be able to deal with, Honorable Speaker. We must deal with wastage, Honorable Speaker, and we must be able to deliberately shed the fat of public resource wastage, Honorable Speaker. This one must be done for us to be able to ensure that the services that we want to get to our people actually get to them and on time, for that matter, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, there is also an elephant in the room that is called disbursement. Honorable Speaker, I have been in a legislative house. This is my 7th year, Honorable Speaker. And one single thing I have not been able to crack is something called disbursement. Honorable Speaker, it beats me that we can do a budget, allocate a certain amount of money, confirm using a finance bill, whether a current one or a previous one, that we can be able to get this money and we can be able to fund this budget. And at the end of the financial year, Madam Speaker, we actually get non-disbursements. We don't get that money given to the line ministry that was intended for, Honorable Speaker. It beats me, Honorable Speaker, and I think this is one thing as a parliament we must speak to, so that we ensure that at the end of every financial year, every single coin that was allocated to whatever purpose actually serves the purpose at that point in time, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we also have the elephant that is called non-expenditure, Honorable Speaker, or underutilization, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, it is sheer incompetence for you to be given money, a specific amount of money, and at the end of the financial year, Honorable Speaker, amidst all the needs that we have in this country, all the issues that need to be sorted, you return the money at the end of financial year, courtesy of lack of utilization or underutilization. That is something, Honorable Speaker, as a parliament, if we intend to ensure that the people of Kenya get services, we must deal with it, and this is not only the time, but also the opportunity to be able to deal with it, Honorable Speaker, so that we can be able to sort out these issues and get services to our people, Honorable Speaker. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, you know, I remember in the year 2022, when the President of the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency William Samoei Ruto, came into office, he made a very unpopular decision. A decision to put to an end subsidies, Honorable Speaker. And when that happened, Honorable Speaker, it was very unpopular, but we have a very good result from it, Honorable Speaker, that it was able to stabilize our economic situation in this country, and we were able to see...
Order, Member for Nandi. Honorable Catherine, what's out of order?
I just wanted my colleague and a very good friend of mine, Honorable Cynthia Muge, to notice that when school feeding program for nomadic places...
What is out of order, Honorable Catherine?
She said that it's not working, but it is working. I want to prove to her.
Honorable Catherine, that is point of information.
What?
If I had Honorable Member for Nandi, she said she may not agree with how it is done, but she supports. And she did not say it's not working. So that is not a point of order. Is there anything out of order, Honorable Catherine?
I want just to mention something so that she can be happy, a little happy, even if she's not agreeing.
She looks pretty happy to me.
She was not agreeing. I want her to agree. Actually, NACONEC is a council that is working better. Before
Honorable Catherine, that is a point of information. It's a point of debate. You'll be free to put it in your debate. Honorable Member for Nandi, kindly conclude.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. And of course, you know, issues of is in the heart of every woman and mother, so that I understand, Honorable Speaker. And just lastly, Honorable Speaker, I must say that the finance bill has brought us here. And we have all realized that it cuts to the front and to the back. That those who are there and those who are not there are suffering the same consequences, Honorable Speaker. But it is also good that we are here so that we can be able to live within our means and ensure that whatever we have, we make it count while it lasts, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to contribute to this particular motion.
Honorable Joseph Oyula, Member for Butula.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also contribute to this important motion. Honorable Speaker, I want to start by congratulating the Budget Committee for work well done. The Budget Committee went through a lot of small areas to ensure that the budget is almost properly brought out. However, Madam Speaker, my concern is mainly on the huge reduction on the capital expenditure against the reduction on the recurrent expenditure. Madam Speaker, development expenditure is the one that should have been given less reduction because it's in the area that the youths can get employment, the area that production of the country can be assessed. And Madam Speaker, I suggest that as the budget committee continues their work, they should put more effort in reducing recurrent expenditure, the capital expenditure. Capital expenditure is very important for development of the country. Other than that, Madam Speaker, I'm happy that a lot of areas have been properly taken care of. Like in agriculture, we have those coolers which are very useful in some of our areas. The other issue, Madam Speaker, is the consideration for the JSS teachers. There have been a problem in the constituencies, but I think with this provision that has been put in the budget, many of them will be accommodated in the system. Madam Speaker, TVETs, construction of hostels has also been considered. And that is very important because most TVETs do not have hostels. And therefore, you find the students moving around looking for accommodation. I'm sure if this is done and done well, our students will have proper accommodation and will concentrate on their studies. Madam Speaker, I also want to mention the increase in the energy for purchase of transformers. Some of our areas, particularly the area I come from, we do not have adequate power in the county. So these transformers will help those dark areas that we still see in our areas. Madam Speaker, this is a very important budget, even though it came at a bad time because of the rejection of the finance bill, but still we need to take care that the reduction in some of these areas do not contribute to pending bills, because if we increase pending bills, we'll be increasing our borrowing, and that will affect our deficit. So these reductions should be looked at again so that we have adequate funding in some of the projects that were ongoing so that we don't create pending bills which are going to increase our deficit. With those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I wish to support this supplementary budget. Thank you.
Honorable Jackson Kosgei.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. From the onset, I support this motion on the consideration of the first supplementary estimates for the financial year 2024-2025, and I appreciate the chair and the committee for bringing in a mitigative supplementary budget that is going to cushion our expenditure and as we collect the revenues in this country to run the government. I wish to bring to the attention of the House three things. Number one, especially budget cuts is supposed to guide budgeting towards minimizing on non-essential areas and concentrate on very essential areas during this time of austerity measures. And I wish to join other speakers that even when we exercise that discretion of budget cuts, we should be sensitive to important areas that may not be loud, yet it is equally important. Madam Speaker, we have ministries. Various regimes in the past have never been considered essential, and that is ministries touching on young people. We have had an experience with our younger people expressing themselves, and it is time that when we consider our budget, we should increase in those areas. The Ministry of Sports, for example, and other ministry is the ministry that is got to do with the preservation of our identity as a nation, and that is dealing with culture. I happen to be a member of the departmental committee, and we witnessed how much budget cuts was done on these ministries. And I think these are ministries that touches on essential areas in the management of our country. And therefore, I would wish to request that the budget committee reconsider some of the areas where the budget cuts has affected those activities that would have accommodated the needs amongst our young people. Number two, Madam Speaker, is a consideration of safety features in risk management in our own premises as Parliament. I wish to again draw the attention of the Budget Committee that whether or not it is available in the PSC, I am one of those who consumes facilities that requires persons with disability to access important exit or entrances into this particular building. And there are two areas in this building. When we have students coming up here into the speaker's gallery, Madam Speaker, the area of entrance and exit is complicated. We would like to have attention by the Budget Committee to add in this supplementary budget, because risk is an issue that can call for attention at any time.